Alright guys, so now that we have our component and our service created, now we want to start to be able to interact with our server through Socket.io. So we have our URL, we have our socket property. We're going to start to create our methods to interact. So we're going to have one called send message. This is in the service file. And that's going to take in a message, which will be a string. And also, it'll take a username, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Okay, and then what we can do is say this dot socket dot emit. Okay, very similar to what we did on the server. And we're going to emit add message. All right, and if we look at our server file, right here, this is what we're doing. We're emitting to this add message. All right, and then we're going to emit the actual message object back. All right, so let's go back to our service, and that's actually all we need to do. We just need to pass in the message here, just like that. And then to get the messages, it's a little more tricky. So we'll say get messages, and we're gonna create an observable here. So we're going to say let observable equals new observable. Alright, and then in here we're going to pass in another set of parentheses and say observer, and I'm going to set this to be the type of any. And then we'll use an arrow function, and we're going to say this dot socket is going to equal IO. And we're going to pass in the URL using this dot URL. All right, and then after that, we're going to say this dot socket dot on, and in here we're going to put in message. Okay, and then we'll add another parameter here, and we're going to say data, which will be the type any. And we need to call next, so observer dot next, and we want to pass in the data. All right, and then down here we're going to return and we want to disconnect, so this dot socket dot disconnect. Alright, and then finally down here we're going to return the observable. So I actually want to put a semicolon here and not here, and then we're going to return observable. Alright, and that's it. That should get our messages. So let's save that, and then we're going to go back into the chat component, and we're going to import a couple more things. I want to use on init and also on destroy. Okay, for when we disconnect. And we're also going to import something called control, which is from Angular /common. And then of course we need the service, so we want to import chat service from, and we want // services / chat .service. Okay, and we have to add that as a provider, as I'm sure you know by now. Alright, now in here let's do implement on init and also on destroy, and then we need to add those two functions, so we need ng on init and also ng on destroy. And we're going to add the connection as a property. We'll just say any. And yeah, that should be good for now. Now we need to inject the service, so we're going to say private. Let's call this underscore chat service, and we're going to set that to chat service. Alright, and then the ng on init, this is where we're going to fetch our messages. So we want to say this dot connection is going to equal this dot underscore chat service dot get messages, and that's an observable, so we're going to subscribe. And inside here, in the parentheses, we'll say message. Set that to a code block, and let's do console.log. And then let's go down to our send message, and we want to just get rid of this, and we're going to do this dot underscore chat service dot send message, and let's pass in here this dot message. Alright, and then I just want to clear the form, so this dot message is going to equal nothing. Alright, and then ng on destroy, this is where we're going to unsubscribe to the connection that we subscribe to up here. So this dot, let's see, we want this dot connection dot unsubscribe. Alright. And let's save it, and you're going to have to restart your server. Okay, so let's say node server, and you can see now it says user connected, and if we reload, you can see that it disconnects for a second and then it connects again. Alright, so every time a client connects, we'll go in this tab, it'll say user connected. Alright, now if we were to add something here, we'll say test and then enter, and you can see down here it's console logging our object, which has the text of test and the type of new message. Alright, so that's working good. So now that we know we're submitting these messages, we want to fetch them and display them in the application. So let's go down here, and right under our console log, we're going to say this dot messages. Okay, we're going to take our messages property, and we're going to push onto that the new message. And now if we go over and we add something here and enter, you can see that it gets added. Okay, so no matter what I add here, it's just going to get added to that stream. So our messages are functional. Now in the next video, what I want to do is add username functionality. Okay, we want to have to add a username and log in before we can post messages. Alright, so that's what we'll get to next.